Welcome to the Bromley Adult Education College Digital Drop-In Podcast, getting you back to work with confidence.
Hello, I'm Jill Collier and welcome to episode 10 of the Digital Drop-In Podcast. It's been a while, hasn't it? I've had lots of great interviews lined up and I try not to make these podcasts topical, but I think given what's been going on for the last few months, I think I have to, and we are going through the COVID-19 pandemic. So all the people I've been hoping to speak to has gone on hold. So what's been going on with the job market? Well, I've been keeping a close eye on this, and the place I'm finding most jobs are becoming so popular for new placements is supermarkets. And this is something we never really thought of previously. Key worker jobs. I don't think that's something that certainly had occurred to me, but if you have a supermarket job, you are indeed a key worker and there is always going to be work there for you. I say that because I have several air steward friends who have worked for the major airlines for the last 20 plus years who have been furloughed and sadly now made redundant. Well, they have all found jobs in supermarkets, and indeed I have on the other side of that, I have building friends who have building companies who haven't been able to work for the last couple of months, and they are now driving for supermarkets, doing the online deliveries. So it has sort of driven home to us the importance and relevance of our supermarket workers. So I thought it would be good to speak to a supermarket worker. Where do I look? Well, I don't have to look too far at all, as my own daughter, Poppy, is studying for A-levels and she works for our local supermarket, predominantly just doing 14 hours a week, but she got her job there. It was the first interview she went for and she got the job probably about 8 months ago now. I'm sure she can tell us. So I would like to introduce you to my daughter, Poppy. Hello.
Hi.
When did you get your job, Poppy?
About 8 months ago in October.
So what's it like working in a supermarket? What, for example, are the best bits?
The best bits are definitely the people you work with. I think that you tend, like in any job, to make quite good friends with the people, like your colleagues and your co-workers, and I think the fact that there's always such a big range of ages, because you have students that work there who are studying for A-levels, university students, people there in their 20s and 30s, and then you have people there who are in their 60s and kind of early 70s, so you have a really big range of staff ages, which means it's a really nice place to work.
Lovely. I don't know if I want to know the answer to this, but what are the worst bits?
Probably people being mean.
Aww.
It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I'm quite sensitive, so I find it really tough.
As in the general public asking of you things that probably aren't within your scope, or?
More, I think that, yeah, I mean, sometimes there are issues or problems that are completely out of my control, and I do my best to help, but I kind of get shouted at or whatever, and I find that really tricky, just because I'm not very good with confrontation. So.
I think something that springs to mind for me would be when this pandemic started, there was a lot of panic buying, wasn't there? So shelves were being cleared wrongly, and I guess people were very angry about that. They would come in wanting just their regular stuff and they weren't able to get it.
Yeah, definitely, that's a really good example. And I mean, you know, we get deliveries in every night. We still do. And that's all I kept trying to say to people is, it's the same amount of stock. I'm really sorry, but I think that people don't always get the message. But on the flip side of that, when this pandemic started, people were also really, really nice. I've never been given so much chocolate in my life.
As in from customers?
Yeah, customers would bring us in boxes of chocolates to thank us for everything, which was really lovely.
That's lovely. What sort of training do you get when you start in a supermarket?
So it depends on what department you're in, but I'm on checkout. So for that, we get about 6 hours training online. So the online training you normally do in the office or in another Sainsbury's that's local to you. But basically what you do is you are on like a computer program, you get given an email, set it all up. And then through that you log in with the work email and you complete different training tasks. So it'll be videos about what to do in certain situations, about different legal policies, and then you have to do a questionnaire, answering the questions, passing them, then agreeing to adhere to that. And then once you've done those hours of training, you're safe to go on the shop floor. So they send you down and you get maybe a couple of hours of shadowing someone on a till, sometimes less depending if it's really busy.
Yes, it's quite an eye-opener, isn't it? I mean, you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'm just wondering when training went from possibly classroom training to it being online. Were you aware that it was quite a new system, or has it been around for a long time?
I think it is relatively new. I remember a few of the managers complaining about it, saying how it is really different and it doesn't necessarily work as well because they have to do a lot more shop floor training where you do complete the hours online. So I think for that it must have been relatively new.
Yes, I can remember training in another supermarket only what seems a few years ago, and it definitely was a lot more role play then. So they've clearly changed things over the years. But I think it doesn't matter how much training you get, you're never quite prepared for that first few hours in a new job. And I don't think it matters whether you're 17 or 47. It's a very nerve-wracking feeling. In fact, probably the older you get, the more scary it gets. When you're young, you tend to take things in your stride. When you get older, you probably feel more concerned. But that first checkout transaction did you feel concerned?
I was really nervous, but the lady who was training me was really lovely, and the customer as well, she knew the lady who was training me quite well because she was a regular, so I didn't feel too nervous on that one. But the one where I felt really nervous was on my first day. Someone asked me about cashback, and I'd never heard of it before, and no one had told me what to do, so I told them we didn't do it. And then they complained, and then the manager had to come down and show me how to do cashback.
Right.
So that was like the one that I found really nerve-wracking.
Right. But there's always going to be something, isn't there? And I think once you know that information, that's it. You're set for life, aren't you?
After about the first month, you feel like you kind of know everything.
Do you feel part of the family now?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's lovely. So, do you know? I mean, as I say, I've seen certainly in another local supermarket to us. There's a great big photograph, of a checkout saying we're hiring, and it gives a web address and it tells you how to hire. Do you know the best ways to go and look for a job in your local supermarket?
So I know that a lot of people say I applied by going directly into the shop. It was just luck. Our manager was down at the time and overheard me asking about the jobs and told me how to apply. But online, from what I've heard, is a lot more difficult to get your CV seen and in, because the applications close after a few have gone in, so it's a lot harder. However, if you go in the store, apparently, what happened to me, the best thing is really to go to the customer services desk, ask about hiring. If they're not hiring at the time, a lot of the time temp jobs are a really good way of getting in,
right?
Because once you've temped for them, you've obviously already been trained, so then as soon as an opening comes up, they are more likely to want a temp, someone who's been trained, and if you're still looking for a job, then you can get in.
Yes, I think there's never going to be one kind of golden answer to that question, is there? There's always going to be sometimes when you're luckier to apply online, and sometimes just presenting yourself in a shop. And if it happens to be the right time, right place, then you know to put your CV in immediately, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you happen to know, when you applied for your job, Poppy, do you know how many applicants there were for how many jobs?
I think it was about 4 people for each job.
Oh, right. So you had about a 25% chance of getting the
Yeah.
job. Well done, you. No, but I always say to everybody that every interview is like a piece of cake. It's giving you the opportunity to experience what an interview feels like. So even if you don't get the job, it's very well worth attending an interview just to get an idea of what is expected of you. Do you know what the main entry jobs available are when you're likely to go to a supermarket? You've mentioned you're on checkout.
Yeah.
Is there any other jobs you can think of?
It's really tricky, but I think at the moment the main ones that are hiring right now are more of the shop floor jobs, like working for online. So that's when you, depending on the supermarket, the one I'm at, we have people in the shop who are currently going around getting the online orders, and obviously at the moment a lot more people are shopping online, so that's where a lot of the jobs are hiring.
That makes sense, yes.
Also, if your shop has a clothing department, there's quite a lot of jobs available there because it constantly needs restocking, reshelving.
And the clothing department's totally separate to the food department,
Yeah.
is it? Didn't know that.
So it's
so they have different people stocking it? I don't really see it. It's not manned, is it? There's not somebody. Oh, there is. There's somebody in the clothing department.
Yeah, so it never used to be manned, and they used to get the checkout staff to do all of the putting back of the clothes and stuff like that. And there was never enough time. So it meant it was always a mess. And so they realised that they set up a whole new department, so it's separate management, and there's a separate set of jobs there, and that's all of they're hired for. So for doing, it's called GM, so I don't know what GM stands for, but yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, that's really interesting. And actually, I would think clothes in supermarkets have been probably selling very well recently because so many other shops are closed, that if you do need something, especially for children that are growing all the time, it's probably the ideal place to look, isn't it? So you feel that there is jobs more on the shop floor for sort of online, putting people's trolleys together, and the clothes. That's interesting. Is there any other, do you think, or is that the main?
I think that's the main two. I mean,
what about trolley collections and things, or is that pretty standard? They've already got plenty of people to do that.
Yeah, the trolley collections have always been a pretty steady group of people. I don't think I've seen any come or go.
No.
In the whole time I've been there, but checkouts also hire sometimes, but definitely there's not as many people working on the checkouts at one time as there are in other departments of the store. So,
well, I guess they're trying to cut down on that, really, aren't they, with all the smart shop and scanning as you go and that type of thing, so that they do need less, perhaps.
Yeah, and definitely, especially if you're over 18 and looking for a job, there's a lot more open to you than there is if you're under 18, because over 18s can work in the back of the store and on other bits. So that's kind of where most of the job opportunities are.
Is that? Do you know why that is? Why you have to be over 18?
I think it's because, I don't actually know. I mean, for some of it, like the self-service, I think it's because you have to approve alcohol.
Yeah.
And for the customer service, you have to sell, obviously, tobacco. So again, you have to be over 18.
Yes, sure.
And then when you're working in the back of the shop,
yes,
I think it's just due to, again, putting alcohol out and that sort of side of the legal stuff.
Right. So dare I ask, what is it like working with the general public? On the whole, are they nice? Are they difficult? What do you find when you're putting people's basket through? How do you find it?
I think that people kind of separate themselves into two very distinct groups, but on the whole, mainly people are lovely, and you always have that small amount of a shift where people are a bit rude or whatever, but on the whole, I think the niceness always outweighs anything else, and it's really nice because you tend to see the same faces, and if you work a different shift, there's all these new people who you've never seen before, but when you've been at a job for a few months, you start seeing the same people, and then you kind of become quite friendly with them. They start to recognise you, and that's really, really nice.
So are we creatures of habit? Do we all tend to shop always on a Monday night or a Friday morning or something?
Yeah.
Right.
We all have kind of, obviously there's sometimes people come on different days, but you have your Sunday people, your Monday people.
Right.
And when you see them on another day, it throws you. It throws me anyway. If I see someone who I always serve on a Tuesday, on a Friday, I think, oh my God, it's Tuesday.
Right, sure. And do you find that they like to come to you as well? Would they potentially wait in a longer queue to have their regular checkout lady as opposed to a shorter queue for somebody they don't know? Or
Yeah, definitely. You get customers that you become really friendly with, and those ones, you seem to end up finding out more about them than it's a bit like a hairdressing appointment. And for those ones, definitely, I always seem to see the same faces on, a Tuesday night, regardless of how long my queue is, which is really nice.
So do you feel you're providing more of a service than purely your job description? I mean, I've always thought the day of the corner shop had passed, but do you feel you are providing a sort of an additional service to these people?
Yeah, it depends on the people, but a lot of checkout people, especially with the elderly, obviously they, even ones that aren't as chatty, know that for a lot of them that's kind of a conversation of the day that they really value, so you end up talking to them and becoming really friendly with them, which is really nice. So for that kind of group of people, you end up becoming really friendly. It's lovely. Yeah.
And so I guess things like just seeing them buying cat food or dog food, you've kind of got something to talk about to find out, what goes on in their lives, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And, there's always different things you can ask about. Christmas, you seem to find out loads about what they're doing for Christmas, family, all of that, which is really lovely.
Ah. So what are staff like to new members? When you joined, it's quite daunting wherever you start, whether you start work in an office, in a school, wherever you start, it's quite daunting that first day, first week, first month. How did you find it? What was your experience?
Definitely really scary at first because everyone knew each other and everyone seemed kind of like friends. And I didn't know anyone's names and I didn't know what to do. But kind of as long as you throw yourself into it and you talk to everyone, you become part of it very, very quickly. And suddenly you know everyone's names and you're friends with them. When a new person comes along, you're the one introducing them, which is really nice.
Oh, yes, I think you never forget how it feels to be the new person, do you? So I've found it very interesting finding out about life in a supermarket. And as I say, it's been driven home to me how not only how important these jobs are to the general public, but how safe they are when people are being laid off and no one knows about quite where their work is going. It's actually a very, very safe job to have, isn't it? Is there anything I should have asked you that perhaps I haven't?
I suppose the benefits that you get from working at a supermarket, and I don't think a lot of people realise across the board, even with my friends who work in other supermarkets, there is a lot of benefits. I know with some, the reduced items at the end of the day you can get really, really cheaply if you're a staff member and they haven't gone. My supermarket, they have counselling available. You have opportunities to win gift cards, like if for good service, for good work, you get rewarded. I got a £10 voucher last month. And I ended up selecting ASOS for it, but you can select pretty much anywhere.
Right.
So those sort of things definitely really make the job because it provides a lot more other than just the job, including the social events as well.
And do you get a staff discount, for example? Can you buy limitless amounts of food on your staff discount, do you know? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with your staff discount, the amount fluctuates with a lot of supermarkets. You have a base amount, but then certain times of the year, they'll up it. So at Christmas, a lot of the time, they'll give you an extra 5 or 10%.
Oh, lovely.
And for a couple of weeks, they'll do it, or a week here and a week there, which is really good.
And I suppose also having a uniform is quite a good thing, isn't it? You don't have to worry about what to wear. They provide you with a uniform.
Yes, they provide you with a uniform, and then all you have to do is tell them your size. They order it in. A lot of the time, it takes a while for it to come in, but then as well, there's often like t-shirts for seasonal things that will go around. I know Comic Relief, they were giving out shirts.
Oh, lovely.
At the moment, they've been giving out shirts about the 2 metre distance. So you end up with quite a few shirts, and if you need more, you can order them.
Lovely. So that's certainly a wardrobe sort of saving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've learnt a lot from this, and I truly thank you. I think anyone that is considering looking for work in a supermarket, it gives you an overall idea of what to expect, and I hope it encourages you all to either have a look online at the sort of the big supermarkets, or, as Poppy says, actually present yourself at your local supermarkets, and there's lots around. Just present yourself and just see if there's any jobs available. Sometimes there isn't a job available, but they know of staff that are going to be leaving and can give you the heads up as to when it would be a good idea. So have a think about it, and I hope this has given you some good ideas for retail work. So I will speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye, Poppy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This podcast has been produced by Bromley Adult Education College. For full details of how we can support your return to work, visit our website www.baec.ac.uk and search for Digital Drop-In. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast to receive notifications of new episodes.